Welcome my colleagues and my dear students, and today we are starting a very important topic in biology, which is the process of respiration. We have basic videos and we have clinical videos. All materials, whether the PowerPoint or the PDF notes, will be available in the inbox of different videos. First, what is respiration? Respiration, it is the process of extracting oxygen from atmosphere and providing it to the inside of the cells where biological oxidation occurs, where our foodstuffs are oxidized in order to provide ATP, which is needed for all aspects of human life. The process of respiration can be simplified. We have oxygen in atmosphere. First, during our respiration, the lungs work to extract it and transmit it to blood. Then blood carries oxygen to the tissues. When oxygen enters the cell, it oxidizes different foodstuffs in order to produce energy. We can divide the process into three main steps. First, external respiration. Second, respiratory function, blood. Third, internal respiration. External respiration is the stage before entering blood. Respiratory function, blood, is the process where oxygen is present in blood. Internal respiration is the stage where oxygen is already delivered to the inside of the cell. External respiration consists of pulmonary ventilation, inspiration and expiration, and so on, and the process of gas exchange. Respiratory function involves oxygen carriage from the lung to the tissue and the CO2 carriage in the opposite direction. Internal respiration, it is the process of actual utilization of oxygen in oxidizing different foodstuffs and production of energy. Regarding the physiological anatomy of the respiratory system, the respiratory process starts from brain, where our respiratory centers lie inside the brainstem. Then impulses descend through the spinal cord, then through nerves to reach the respiratory muscle, which move the chest and the lung. So the simple description is that our respiratory system consists of air passages, number 2 respiratory muscle, number 3 respiratory centers. Regarding the respiratory passages, start here from the nose, then air enters the pharynx, this area, then it descends through the larynx, then the trachea, then it passes through the main bronchi and the large bronchi, then medium size, then small, then finally the bronchioles. These divisions are called bronchial tree. Actually, it is similar to a tree which become thick. Then by repeated divisions, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and so on. And like a tree which terminates by a leaf, the bronchial tree terminates by lung alveoli. So it can be described best by a bronchial tree. We can divide the respiratory system from physiological and anatomical point of view into two main parts: conducting zone and respiratory zone. The conducting zone starts from the nose, passing through the pharynx, then larynx, then trachea, then through the bronchi and through the bronchioles. Bronchioles are divided into two main types: terminal bronchiole and respiratory bronchiole. The end of the conducting zone is the end of terminal bronchiole, and the start of the respiratory zone is the start of respiratory bronchiole. Respiratory zone is characterized by the ability of gas exchange, and this is the main difference between respiratory zone and the conducting zone. As we see here, when the terminal bronchioles terminate, the respiratory bronchiole stop. Then respiratory bronchiole divide to give you alveolar ducts. Alveolar ducts give you alveolar sacs. Then finally the alveoli. To simplify, if we consider this is a terminal bronchiole and it is terminated here, so this is a respiratory bronchiole. It divides to give us multiple alveolar ducts. Every one of these ducts opens in a dilatation called sac. In the wall of the sac, the different alveoli open and there is a possibility of gas exchange. So these are alveoli, this is the alveolar sac, and these are the alveolar ducts, and these are the respiratory bronchiole. We have a term that is called respiratory unit. It refers to a respiratory bronchiole and related ducts and related sacs and related alveoli. What about the functions of conducting zone? First, conduction of air conditioning, air humidification, air filtration, protective reflexes, and non-respiratory function. The first is simple conduction of air from the atmosphere to the respiratory zone. The second is the process of air conditioning. Air conditioning means adjustment of the temperature of the inspired air. If it is cold, the conducting zone gives it heat. If it is hot, it takes heat from it. Finally, it reaches the alveoli with a temperature that is nearly 37, which is best for the process of gas exchange. Number 3, air humidification. What is meant by humidification? The inspired air is dry air, and this may cause injury of the delicate lung alveoli. Instead, it is humidified by the water vapor from the capillaries inside the walls of the bronchial tree. This is a process of wetting or humidification of air in order not to injure the lung alveoli. The fourth function is filtration. Filtration of air from the different particles. Particles larger than from 4 to 6 microns are trapped by the nasal hairs. However, smaller particles can pass through the hair, but they become trapped or attracted to the mucus in the wall of the bronchial tree. Number 5, protective reflexes. If a foreign body entered by mistake the nose or the larynx, we have protective reflexes that get rid of these foreign bodies rapidly. In the nose, we have sneezing reflex. In the larynx, we have cough reflex. We have also functions that are not related to respiration. They are so important. Smell function by the nose and phonation by the vocal cords. Let us speak about the details of the process of respiration. As we said, we have 3 stages: external respiration, respiratory function of blood, and the internal respiration. External respiration consists of pulmonary ventilation and gas exchange. Let us speak about pulmonary ventilation. Pulmonary ventilation, it is the process of repeated inspiration, expiration, inspiration and expiration, and so on. When we respire, we start by inspiration, followed by expiration, then expiratory pause, and this becomes repeated for life. Inspiration lasts for about 1.3 seconds, expiration 1.7, and expiratory pause is about 0.7. So the total duration from the start of inspiration till the end of the expiratory pause, this is called the respiratory cycle, and in average it is 3.7 seconds. Note that during rapid breathing, the respiratory pause may be absent. So the respiration will be inspiration, expiration, inspiration, expiration, and so on. This is the normal duration of the respiratory cycle. In a minute, you can expect that we have about 16 cycles per minute in average, and this can be normally increased to 25 per minute in children. Regarding the mechanics of breathing, we have normal mechanics during normal quiet breathing, and we have normal mechanics during forced breathing. So we will speak about 4 important topics. First, the mechanics of normal inspiration. Second, mechanics of normal expiration, mechanics of forced inspiration, and the mechanics of forced expiration. Regarding the mechanics of normal inspiration, the process of normal inspiration occurs due to contraction of 2 groups of muscle, the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscle. First, the diaphragm. The diaphragm is responsible for about 75% of the process of respiration. It is the main muscle that is involved in respiration. About 2/3 of its fibers are slow red that resist fatigue, and it is supplied by the phrenic nerve. As we see in the video, when the diaphragm contracts, it descends downwards. And this descent is so important because it increases the chest cavity in the vertical diameter. When the chest cavity increases, the pressure inside decreases. The second group of muscle is the external intercostal muscle. The external intercostal muscle, as we know, are present in between the ribs externally, and they are supplied by the intercostal nerves from T1 to T10. When they contract, they increase the transverse diameter and the anteroposterior diameter. This figure explains this change during inspiration and during expiration. When the diaphragm contracts, the vertical diameter is increased. And by contraction of external intercostal muscle, you can expect that the anteroposterior diameter is increased and the transverse. And during expiration, the reverse occurs. This is also clear here. When the external intercostal muscles contract, they increase the transverse diameter and the anteroposterior diameter. And when contraction of the diaphragm occurs, there is increase in the vertical diameter. Accordingly, contraction of diaphragm and external intercostal muscle increases the chest in all dimensions, so the pressure inside drops below the atmospheric pressure. To summarize here, contraction of diaphragm and external intercostal muscle increases the chest in all dimensions, so the pressure inside the chest drops about 2 mm mercury below the atmospheric pressure. We call it -2 because we consider the atmospheric, which is 760 mm mercury, we consider it 0 because it is constant. Because the pressure is subatmospheric, you can expect that air rushes inside the lung, which is the process of inspiration. Regarding the process of normal expiration is a passive process that does not need contraction of any muscle. Just the inspiratory muscle relax. When the inspiratory muscles relax, the chest decreases in all dimensions. Relaxation of the diaphragm decreases the vertical, and relaxation of the external intercostal muscle decreases the transverse and anteroposterior diameter. The chest decreased in all dimensions, so the pressure inside is increased about 2 mm mercury above the atmospheric. So air rushes outside, which is the process of normal expiration. Regarding forced inspiration, and this occurs during exercise, the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles contract strongly. However, this is not sufficient. A group of accessory muscles work with the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles, and they are additional muscles or accessory muscles. They work only during forced respiration that occur during exercise, like sternomastoid, serratus anterior, pectoralis minor muscle, and scalenus muscle. And as a result, the pressure inside the chest may drop to -20 mm mercury. During the process of forced expiration, as we said before, normal inspiration is passive. However, forced expiration is active. It involves contraction of the abdominal muscle together with the internal intercostal muscle. When these groups of muscle contract strongly, the chest decreases in all dimensions and the pressure inside may increase to about +30 mm mercury. This causes a rush of air outside during the process of forced expiration. Finally, we reached the end of this simple lecture. Thank you and goodbye.